Before we begin, I want you to know this story takes place in Toronto, Ontario, and what I'm about to share with you changed my understanding of trust forever. Tell me in the comments where in the world you're watching from, and whether you've ever had your entire reality shattered in a single moment. I'm Brennan, and 6 months ago, I thought I had everything figured out. I was 29 years old, working as a senior software developer at a growing tech startup, pulling in a comfortable 6 figures. My wife Miranda and I had just bought our first real house in Leslieville, one of those renovated Victorian semis with original hardwood floors and a backyard big enough for the dog we kept talking about getting. We'd been married for 6 years, together for 8, and I genuinely believed we were building something permanent. Miranda worked in marketing for a pharmaceutical company downtown. She was brilliant at her job, the kind of person who could walk into a room and own it within 5 minutes. That's actually how we met back in university at Western. I was the quiet computer science guy who spent too much time in the lab, and she was the commerce student who somehow convinced me to go to a party where I definitely didn't belong. 3 months later, we were inseparable. Looking back now, I can see all the signs I missed. But hindsight is a brutal teacher, isn't it? At the time, I just thought we were going through the normal stresses of adulting. The late nights Miranda spent at work, the way she'd started going to the gym at odd hours, how she'd become weirdly protective of her phone, always keeping it face down, always taking calls in another room. I told myself I was being paranoid, that after 8 years together, you don't question every little thing. The real story starts on a Tuesday afternoon in March. I'd taken the afternoon off to meet with Robert Chen, the estate lawyer who'd handled the legal work on our house purchase. With the new mortgage and our growing savings, Miranda and I had decided it was time to be responsible adults and actually get our wills properly sorted out. You know, the stuff you do when you're pretending to have your life together. I arrived at Robert's office building on Bay Street around 2 in the afternoon. It was one of those glass tower buildings where everyone looks important and walks too fast. Robert's receptionist, an older woman named Susan, gave me a strange look when I checked in. Not hostile, but something was off. She wouldn't quite meet my eyes. "Mr. Chen will be right with you, Mr. Brennan," she said, her voice careful, measured. "Can I get you some water? Coffee?" I settled into one of those leather chairs that cost more than my first car and pulled out my phone. I'd been expecting this to be routine, boring even. Sign some papers, make sure if something happened to me, Miranda would be taken care of, and vice versa. Standard married couple stuff. Robert appeared in the doorway after about 5 minutes. He was in his late 40s, always impeccably dressed, and normally had this warm, professional demeanor that made you feel like your legal problems were already solved. But that day, his smile didn't reach his eyes. "Alex, good to see you. Come on back to my office." I followed him down a hallway lined with generic corporate art, making small talk about the Maple Leafs' playoff chances. Robert's responses were distracted, automatic. When we reached his office, he closed the door behind us, which seemed odd. He'd never done that before. "Have a seat," he said, moving around to his side of the desk. "Alex, before we get into the will discussion, there's something I need to tell you. It's uncomfortable, and it puts me in a difficult position professionally, but I'd want to know if I were in your shoes." My stomach dropped. You know that feeling when you're in an elevator and it starts moving too fast? "What's going on, Robert?" He pulled out a file folder, but didn't open it yet. His hands rested on top of it, like he was trying to decide how to proceed. "Miranda came to see me last week. Without you." I blinked. "Okay. Maybe she had questions about the will or something. She didn't come to discuss the will you two are planning together." Robert's voice was careful, like he was diffusing a bomb with words. "She came to retain me separately for divorce proceedings. She wanted advice on asset protection and spousal support calculations." The words hung in the air between us. I heard them, understood each one individually, but together they didn't make sense. It was like my brain refused to assemble them into meaning. "That's not possible," I said slowly. "We're fine. We're here to plan our future together. We just bought a house. Miranda wouldn't." "Alex." Robert's tone stopped me cold. "I told her I couldn't represent her separately when I'm already your lawyer. That's a conflict of interest." But during that conversation, she said some things that concerned me deeply from a legal standpoint. Things that, as your attorney, I have an ethical obligation to make you aware of. He opened the file folder and turned it toward me. Inside were printouts of documents, some kind of financial statements. Miranda brought these with her. She wanted to know how to protect certain assets from division in a divorce. Assets that, according to these statements, are in accounts I don't recognize from your financial disclosures to me. I leaned forward, scanning the documents. They showed account numbers I'd never seen before, in banks I didn't recognize. But my name was on them, or rather, someone using my name was on them. What am I looking at? Credit card accounts opened in your name over the past 18 months. The balances total approximately $47,000. There are also 2 lines of credit, both maxed out, for another $35,000. None of this appears on your credit file that we pulled for the mortgage application 6 months ago, which means someone's been very careful about timing and covering tracks. The room felt like it was tilting. I didn't open any of these accounts. I know, but your signature is on the applications. Very good forgeries, if that's what they are. Miranda presented these to me as evidence of your secret gambling problem that she's been trying to help you with. Robert's face was grim. She wanted documentation that she'd been the responsible party trying to save the marriage while you spiraled out of control. That's insane. I don't gamble. I've never gambled beyond maybe $20 on a Leafs game. I believe you, which is why what I'm about to tell you next is even more concerning. Robert pulled out another document. Miranda also asked me about life insurance policies, specifically about a policy she claimed you two had taken out together for $2 million. My mouth went dry. We have insurance through work, maybe $100,000 each through our employer's plans. Nothing like $2 million. That's what I suspected. But she showed me this. He slid a policy document across the desk. It's a term life insurance policy for $2 million. You're the insured. She's the sole beneficiary. It was taken out 14 months ago with a company called Meridian Life Insurance. I picked up the document with shaking hands. There was my signature at the bottom, or something that looked exactly like my signature. I never signed this. Alex, I'm not supposed to speculate outside my area of expertise, but I've been practicing law for 22 years. What I'm seeing here looks like someone systematically building a paper trail, fraudulent debt in your name, insurance policies you don't know about, and a wife who's planning a divorce while simultaneously documenting what she claims is your financial irresponsibility and mental instability. Why would she do this? Robert hesitated. In my experience, there are typically 2 motivations. Either she wants to leave the marriage with more than her share of assets by painting you as the unstable party, or he stopped, or what? Or the insurance policy isn't meant for a divorce scenario. It's meant for a different kind of separation. The implications of what he was saying crashed over me like ice water. You think Miranda is planning to kill me. I think you need to take this very seriously. I think you need to not go home and confront her. I think you need to get somewhere safe and figure out your next moves very carefully. Robert pulled out a business card and wrote something on the back. This is David Park. He's a friend of mine, criminal defense attorney, but more importantly, he's connected. He can help you figure out what's really going on here. I took the card with numb fingers. How did we get here, Robert? How does 8 years of marriage turn into this? I don't know. But Alex, listen to me very carefully. Do not go home tonight. Do not tell Miranda about this conversation. Do not tip your hand until you know exactly what you're dealing with. Whatever's happening, she's been planning it for over a year. You need to be smart here, not emotional. I left Robert's office in a daze. It was 4 p.m, downtown Toronto, going about its normal Tuesday business. People rushing to meetings, grabbing coffee, complaining about the weather. And I was walking through it all, feeling like I'd just woken up in someone else's nightmare. I couldn't go home. Robert was right about that much. I found myself walking aimlessly along King Street, my mind racing through every conversation, every moment with Miranda over the past year and a half. The late nights at work that I'd accepted without question. The girls' weekends in Montreal that seemed to happen more and more frequently. The way she'd been encouraging me to work from home more often, saying she worried about my stress levels. Jesus Christ. Had she been trying to isolate me? I pulled out my phone and called the number Robert had given me. David Park answered on the second ring. David Park. Hi. My name is Alex Brennan. Robert Chen gave me your number. He said you might be able to help me with a situation. Alex. Yes. Robert called me about 10 minutes ago. Said you'd be reaching out. Are you somewhere safe right now? I'm walking downtown. I don't even know where I'm going. Okay, listen to me. I need you to stay calm and stay in public. Are you near King and University? About 2 blocks west. Perfect. There's a Starbucks on the southwest corner. Go there, order a coffee, sit near the window where there are people around. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Don't call anyone else. Don't post anything on social media. Don't contact your wife. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Good. I'm leaving now. I made it to the Starbucks and ordered a coffee I didn't want, then sat at a table by the window like David had instructed. My phone buzzed with a text from Miranda. Hey babe, how did the will appointment go? Want me to pick up dinner on my way home? I stared at the message. How did you respond to that when you just discovered your wife might be planning to kill you? I typed back something neutral. Went fine. Might grab drinks with some work friends. Don't wait up. Her response came immediately. Okay, have fun. Love you. Love you. 2 words I'd heard thousands of times over 8 years. Words that now felt like knives. David Park arrived exactly 20 minutes later. He was younger than I'd expected, maybe late 30s, wearing a sharp suit but with an approachable face. He spotted me immediately and slid into the seat across from me. Alex Brennan? That's me. I'm David. Robert filled me in on the basics, but I need you to tell me everything from your perspective. Start from the beginning, and don't leave anything out, even if it seems insignificant. So I told him. Everything. The documents Robert had shown me, the insurance policy, the fraudulent accounts, but also the past 18 months of my marriage. The changes in Miranda's behavior that I'd dismissed as normal life stress. The way our intimacy had gradually decreased. How she'd started picking fights over small things, creating distance. David listened without interrupting, taking occasional notes on his phone. When I finished, he sat back and studied me for a moment. Okay, here's what I think is happening, and I need you to stay calm while I explain this. Your wife is not acting alone. The level of sophistication here, the forged documents, the insurance fraud, the identity theft, all of it requires knowledge and resources that your average person doesn't have. She's working with someone. Who? That's what we need to find out. But based on what you've told me, I'd bet money it's someone you both know. Someone with access to your personal information and your daily routine. Robert mentioned your wife works in pharmaceutical marketing? Yeah, at Novagen Pharma. And you work at a tech startup? Black Box Solutions. We do cybersecurity software for financial institutions. David's expression shifted slightly. Who are your business partners at Black Box? There are 3 of us who founded it. Me, Ethan Kowalski, and Priya Sharma. Why? How well do you know Ethan? The question hit me like a punch. We've been friends since university. He was at my wedding. Why are you asking about Ethan? David pulled out his own phone and started typing. Robert sent me the account information. I have a friend who works in financial forensics. I asked him to do a quick preliminary check on the routing numbers while I was driving here. He turned his phone to show me an email. The fraudulent accounts, the ones opened in your name, they were all set up using an IP address registered to Ethan Kowalski's home address in the annex. The coffee shop seemed to fade away. Ethan, my best friend, the guy who'd been the best man at my wedding, who came over for dinner at least once a week, who had keys to our house because he was supposed to water the plants when we went on vacation. No, Ethan wouldn't. He's been my friend for 10 years. Alex, I need you to think carefully. Have you noticed anything strange about Ethan's behavior recently? Any changes in your friendship? Has he been spending more time with Miranda? And there it was. The memory I'd been suppressing because it seemed too paranoid, too crazy. About 6 months ago, I'd come home early from work with a migraine. I'd found Miranda and Ethan in our living room, sitting close together on the couch, both looking startled when I walked in. They'd said they were discussing a surprise birthday party for Priya. I'd accepted it because why wouldn't I? These were the 2 people I trusted most in the world. Oh my God, I whispered. They're having an affair. More than that, David said grimly. They're running a long con. Think about it. Ethan has access to your company, your business accounts, your personal information. He knows your schedule, your habits, your financial situation. Miranda has access to your home, your documents, your signatures. Together, they can forge whatever they need. And with a $2 million insurance payout split between them, That's motive. But how would they even kill me? Make it look like an accident? That's where the fraudulent debt comes in. They're building a narrative. Depressed software developer with a secret gambling problem, mounting debt, marital stress. When someone like that dies suddenly, maybe from an overdose or a car accident or a fall down the stairs, people don't ask too many questions. They shake their heads and say it's tragic, but they saw the signs. My hands were shaking. I set down my coffee before I spilled it. What do I do? David leaned forward. Here's the thing, Alex. We can't just go to the police with what we have right now. It's all circumstantial. Forged signatures are hard to prove without handwriting analysis, and that takes time. The insurance policy could be explained away as a misunderstanding. Even the affair, if they're having one, isn't illegal. So I'm just supposed to wait for them to kill me? No. We're going to be smarter than them. We're going to gather evidence, document everything, and build an airtight case. But more importantly, we're going to protect you legally and financially starting right now. Over the next 2 hours, David laid out a plan. We'd get forensic accounting experts to trace the fraudulent accounts. We'd hire a private investigator to document Miranda and Ethan's affair. We'd file a police report about the identity theft, creating an official record. Most importantly, we'd do it all quietly, without tipping them off. The key, David explained, is that they can't know you're aware. If they realize you figured it out, they'll either accelerate their timeline or disappear. We need them to think everything is proceeding according to their plan while we dismantle it piece by piece. How am I supposed to go home and act normal around Miranda knowing all this? You're not. Not yet. We're going to establish that you're away on a work trip. Emergency client situation. You'll be in Vancouver for a week. That buys us time to set everything up without them getting suspicious. What about our company? I can't just disappear. Ethan will know something's up. You're going to tell your third partner, Priya, right? Call her tonight. Tell her you have a family emergency. You need her to cover for you. Don't tell her the details yet, just that you need a week. Can you trust her? I thought about Priya. We'd all started Black Box together, but she'd never been as close to Ethan as I had. And she'd mentioned once, casually, that she thought Ethan had been acting weird lately. Yeah, I can trust Priya. Good. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to stay at a hotel tonight, under my firm's account, so there's no credit card trail. Tomorrow, I'm bringing in my investigator, a woman named Lauren Chen. She's the best in the city. She's going to set up surveillance on both Miranda and Ethan, document their movements, their communications, everything. How long will this take? Could be a few days, could be a few weeks. But Alex, I need you to be patient. I need you to be smart. Can you do that? What choice did I have? I nodded. That night, lying in a bland hotel room near the airport, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Miranda's face. The woman I'd loved for 8 years, the woman I'd built a life with, the woman who apparently wanted me dead. Around 2 in the morning, my phone buzzed. Another text from Miranda. Miss you. House feels empty without you. Come home safe. I wanted to throw the phone across the room. The next morning, David picked me up at 7. We drove to a nondescript office building in North York where I met Lauren Chen, the private investigator. She was in her 40s, former Toronto police detective, with sharp eyes that seemed to catalog everything. Alex, she said, shaking my hand firmly, David's briefed me. I'm going to need access to your security system at home, your vehicle's GPS history if it has one, and any shared calendar or location tracking you and your wife use. I walked her through everything. Miranda and I had one of those smart home systems, mostly for the convenience of controlling lights and temperature from our phones. I'd never thought about how it could track our movements. This is good, Lauren said, reviewing the data on her laptop. Your wife has been leaving the house 3 to 4 times a week, always between 7 and 10 p.m., usually when you were working late or out with friends. The duration varies, but most trips are 2 to 3 hours. And look at this. She pulled up a map showing Miranda's phone location history, reconstructed from the smart home system's logs. She's been going to the same condo building in Liberty Village, the Nautilus building on Fort York Boulevard. Want to guess who lives there? Ethan, I said quietly. Bingo. Your business partner lives in Unit 2407, and your wife has visited that building 43 times in the past 6 months. The evidence was damning. But in a weird way, it was almost a relief. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. This was really happening. Over the next week, Lauren built a comprehensive picture of Miranda and Ethan's affair. She got photos of them together, entering and leaving his condo building. She documented their lunches at restaurants across the city, places where they thought they wouldn't be recognized. She even managed to get audio recordings of conversations in Ethan's condo through some technical means she didn't fully explain, and I decided not to ask about. But it was worse than just an affair. One recording, captured 5 days into the surveillance, made my blood run cold. I was sitting in David's office with him and Lauren, listening through headphones. Ethan's voice. "We need to move faster. He's been in Vancouver for a week. He'll be back soon." Miranda's voice. I know, but we have to be careful. If this doesn't look natural, the insurance won't pay out. What about the pills you got? Will they work?" The pharmacist at work, Jenny, she owed me a favor. They're beta blockers, same ones Alex's dad takes for his heart. If he takes enough, especially with alcohol, it could trigger cardiac arrhythmia. It'll look like a heart attack, especially if he's already had the stress from discovering all the debt. When? Soon. Maybe this weekend. I'll suggest we open that expensive bottle of whiskey he's been saving. We'll have a nice evening, talk about fixing our problems, make him feel safe. Then I'll slip it into his drink. I ripped off the headphones and ran to David's private bathroom, where I vomited everything in my stomach. They weren't just planning to kill me. They had a specific method, a timeline. Miranda had stolen pills from her workplace. This wasn't some vague threat anymore. This was real, imminent, and I could have been dead if Robert Chen hadn't warned me. When I came back to David's office, he and Lauren were deep in conversation. They stopped when I entered. "We have enough," David said. "We're going to the police now." Lauren's already contacted Detective Sarah Morrison at 52 Division. She specializes in domestic conspiracy cases. We're meeting her in 2 hours. The meeting with Detective Morrison was surreal. She listened to the recordings, reviewed Lauren's documentation, examined the forged financial documents. Her expression grew progressively grimmer. "This is conspiracy to commit murder," she said finally, "combined with identity theft, insurance fraud, and attempted poisoning. Mr. Brennan, I need you to understand that what comes next is going to be difficult. We'll need to set up a controlled scenario to catch them in the act. You want to use me as bait? In a way, yes. We'll have you return home, wire you with audio and video recording equipment, and create an opportunity for your wife to attempt what she's planning. We'll have officers positioned nearby for your safety, but we need her to make an actual attempt. Otherwise, a good defense attorney could argue the recordings were taken out of context, that it was fantasy talk, not real planning." I looked at David. He nodded slowly. "It's the best way to ensure they both go to prison for a long time. But Alex, you don't have to do this. We could just go to them with what we have, let them know we're pressing charges. They'd probably take a plea deal." "No," I said. "I want them to face full consequences for what they've planned. Let's do it." The controlled operation happened 3 days later, on a Saturday evening. I'd texted Miranda that morning saying I was flying home that night, that we needed to talk, that I wanted to fix things between us. She'd responded immediately with enthusiasm, saying she'd make dinner, that she loved me, that we could work through anything together. The police had wired our house with cameras and microphones. I was wearing a recording device that looked like a fitness tracker. Undercover officers were positioned in a van 2 houses down and in a car across the street. Detective Morrison was coordinating everything from a command center they'd set up in the garage of a vacant house being renovated 4 doors down from ours. I walked into my own home at 7 p.m. feeling like I was entering a trap, which, in a way, I was. Just not the way Miranda thought. She was in the kitchen when I came in, wearing one of my favorite dresses, her hair done up the way she knew I liked. The smell of roasting chicken filled the house. It was a perfect recreation of 1,000 evenings we'd shared before. Except, this time, she was planning to poison me. "Alex!" She came over and hugged me tightly. "God, I missed you. How was Vancouver?" I hugged her back, feeling like I was embracing a stranger. "Long. Exhausting. I'm glad to be home. I made your favorite, herb-roasted chicken, garlic, mashed potatoes, asparagus. And I even got that whiskey you've been saving, the 20-year Macallan. I thought we could celebrate you being home." There it was. The whiskey. Right on schedule. "That sounds perfect," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. I could use a drink after this week. We sat down to dinner. Miranda chatted about her week, asking questions about my fake trip to Vancouver. I gave vague answers that David and I had prepared. The whole time, I watched her hands, waiting for the moment. It came after dinner, when we moved to the living room. Miranda poured 2 generous glasses of whiskey. I watched her turn away slightly as she handed me mine, her body blocking my view for just a second. But the camera, hidden in the bookshelf, caught everything. The small vial she pulled from her pocket, the powder she tipped into my glass, the way she stirred it with her finger, then wiped it on her dress. "To us," she said, raising her glass. "To working through the tough times and coming out stronger." I raised my glass but didn't drink. "Miranda, before we toast, I need to tell you something." Her smile faltered slightly. "What is it?" "I went to see Robert Chen before I left for Vancouver, to finalize our will, like we planned." "Okay?" Her voice was careful now. "He told me you'd been to see him. About a divorce." Miranda's face went through a series of micro-expressions. Surprise, then fear, then something calculating. "Alex, I can explain. I was angry that day. We'd fought that morning, remember? About you working so much? I was just exploring my options. I never seriously—" He also told me about the accounts. The ones opened in my name. The ones with $80,000 in debt that I knew nothing about. She set down her glass. "What are you talking about?" "And the life insurance policy. $2 million. With you as the sole beneficiary. A policy I never signed for. Alex, you're not making sense. You're tired from your trip. Let's just— I know about Ethan." Silence. The kind of silence that's heavier than sound. Miranda's face went pale. "What about Ethan?" "I know you're having an affair. I know you've been planning this for over a year. I know about the pills you stole from work, the beta blockers you put in my whiskey just now." She stood up quickly. "You're insane. The stress, the trip, you're having some kind of breakdown." "I'm not drinking this," I said, setting down the glass. "And neither are you going anywhere." That's when the front door burst open. Detective Morrison and 4 uniformed officers flooded into our living room. Miranda screamed. "Miranda Brennan, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, attempted poisoning, insurance fraud, and identity theft. You have the right to remain silent." I watched them handcuff my wife. The woman I'd loved for 8 years. The woman who'd just tried to poison me. She was crying now, makeup running down her face, begging me to believe her, saying this was a misunderstanding. "Where's Ethan?" I asked Detective Morrison. "Officers are picking him up now at his condo. We have warrants for both of them." As they led Miranda out, she turned back to me one last time. "Alex, please, I love you. You have to believe me." I didn't respond. What was there to say? The next few months were a blur of legal proceedings, forensic accountants, therapy sessions, and slowly rebuilding my life. The investigation revealed even more than we'd initially discovered. Ethan and Miranda's affair had started almost 2 years ago, not 18 months. They'd been planning the insurance scheme for at least a year. The beta blockers Miranda had stolen would have killed me. The coroner confirmed that the dosage she'd prepared, combined with alcohol, would have induced cardiac arrest that would have looked natural, especially given the fake stress and debt narrative they'd constructed. Both Miranda and Ethan were charged with conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, along with multiple counts of fraud and identity theft. Ethan had also been embezzling from our company, hiding the theft through the same accounting tricks he'd used to create my fake debts. Priya and I discovered he'd stolen almost $200,000 from Black Box over the past 18 months. The trial was brutal. I had to sit in a courtroom and listen to the details of their affair, their planning, the casual way they discussed ending my life. Miranda's defense tried to claim she was being coerced by Ethan, that she was a victim too. The recordings proved otherwise. They were equal partners in this nightmare. In the end, both were convicted. Ethan got 15 years. Miranda got 12, with eligibility for parole after 8. The sentences felt simultaneously too long and not long enough. How do you quantify justice for something like this? The insurance policy was voided due to fraud. I got my money back from the fraudulent accounts after the banks were forced to acknowledge the identity theft. Priya and I restructured Black Box, bringing in new partners and implementing financial oversight that should have existed from the beginning. The house in Leslieville, the one Miranda and I had been so excited about, I sold it. Too many memories, too many ghosts. I moved to a condo downtown, somewhere with no history, where I could start fresh. Therapy helped. Dr. Patricia Walsh, the psychologist David recommended, specialized in trauma recovery. She helped me understand that trusting Miranda hadn't been naive. It had been normal. Loving someone means giving them the power to hurt you, and most people don't abuse that power. Miranda and Ethan were the aberration, not the rule. It's been 9 months since that Saturday night. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still struggle with trust. When I meet someone new, there's this voice in the back of my head asking what they're hiding, what they want from me. Dr. Walsh says that's normal, that it'll fade with time. But I'm rebuilding. Priya and I have taken Black Box to new heights. We're working on a project for the National Bank that could change everything for us. I've started dating again, carefully, slowly. There's a woman named Jennifer I met at a tech conference in Montreal. She's a data scientist, sharp and funny, and patient with my trust issues. We're taking things slow, but there's potential there. I reconnected with my family too. My parents, my sister Emma, friends I'd let drift away during my marriage to Miranda. I'd isolated myself without realizing it, making Miranda the center of my world. That's a mistake I won't make again. If I could go back and tell my younger self anything, it would be this: trust your instincts. When something feels off, investigate. Don't dismiss your concerns as paranoia or insecurity. The signs were there for months, maybe years, and I ignored all of them because I wanted to believe everything was fine. But more than that, I'd tell him that survival isn't just about catching the bad guys. It's about what you do after. It's about deciding that one person's betrayal doesn't define your capacity to love or be loved. It's about understanding that evil exists, but so does goodness. And the fact that I encountered one doesn't mean I won't find the other. Robert Chen, the estate lawyer who could have stayed quiet and avoided the professional complications, he saved my life by speaking up. David Park and Lauren Chen, who worked around the clock to build our case. Detective Morrison and her team. Priya, who held our company together when everything fell apart. My family, who surrounded me with support I hadn't realized I needed. These people proved that for every Miranda and Ethan in the world, there are 10 others who will stand by you when everything falls apart. I learned that you can't protect yourself from betrayal by never trusting anyone. That's not safety, it's prison. The key is building a life diverse enough that no single person's betrayal can destroy you. It's having friends, family, interests, and identity that exist independent of any one relationship. It's financial literacy, so you know what's happening with your money. It's legal awareness, so you understand your rights and protections. Most importantly, I learned that revenge isn't about punishment. It's about justice and prevention. I didn't need Miranda and Ethan to suffer for suffering's sake. I needed them held accountable so they couldn't hurt anyone else, so other potential victims could see their case and recognize warning signs in their own lives. The story I've told you today, it's not a warning to never trust anyone. It's a reminder to trust wisely, to pay attention, to maintain your independence within your relationships, to understand that love shouldn't require you to hand over control of your entire life to another person. If you're watching this and something I've said resonates with you, if you're seeing signs in your own relationship that worry you, trust that instinct. Talk to a lawyer, talk to a therapist, document what you're seeing. You're not crazy, you're not paranoid, you're being careful, and there's no shame in that. And if you're watching this as someone who's been through a betrayal, who's dealing with the aftermath of discovering that someone you loved isn't who you thought they were, I want you to know it gets better. Not easily, not quickly, but it does get better. You will rebuild, you will trust again, you will love again. The person who betrayed you doesn't get to write the rest of your story. To everyone watching, wherever you are in the world, thank you for listening. These stories we share, they're not just entertainment. They're lessons, warnings, and sometimes they're lifelines. If this video helped you, if it made you think, if it gave you information you needed, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. Stay safe out there. Trust, but verify. Love deeply, but maintain your boundaries. And remember, your gut instinct exists for a reason. Listen to it. This is Alex Brennan, and that's my story. I hope you never need to use the lessons I learned, but I'm glad I could share them with you anyway.